Hey there, life editors! Welcome to our live stream call. Thank you so much for joining me today. All right, so today we are streaming on YouTube, my Facebook business page, and in our Life Editor Clubhouse Facebook group. So go ahead and leave a comment and say hi from wherever you are watching from. I am going to be restarting these weekly live streams out to everyone on YouTube and Facebook. And I would love to hear what types of topics are important to you and what you want to hear about during these live streams, because this is really your chance to ask me any questions you have, share how your life editing journey is going, and give me some feedback as to what kind of topics you want us to cover so I can make sure that we are providing the information that's important to you on your life editing journey. So leave a comment, say hi, and welcome. Also, for a while, I've had a book club in the Life Editor Clubhouse, which is my membership site. And for a while, we've had a book club in here, but now we are opening up the book club. So it's not exclusively just for Clubhouse members now. We're going to be doing a book club for everyone. So if you love reading like I do, of course I do, because I'm a former book editor, I would love to hear what types of books you want to read in our book club. Like what topics are important to you? Do you have your favorite authors? So go ahead and leave a comment and let me know what types of books you would like to see in our book club. And today we are talking about Year of Yes by Shonda Rhimes, which is one of my favorite books. Now, I know for some of you who are on my Facebook business page or on my YouTube channel, you're like, wait, I didn't know what we were reading this month. I know, because the book club was originally just in the Clubhouse, which is my membership site, but now we've opened it up. So you're kind of catching us on the very last little bit of our previous month. So for March, we read Year of Yes. And if you haven't read the book yet, I've left the link in the comments. You can get your copy. Love this book. We're going to be talking all about it today. And I will preview our next book ahead of time. But I definitely want to hear what books you want to read first before I announce our next book for April. So if you have suggestions for books we should read for our Life Editor book club, leave a comment below and let me know. So it's totally okay if you didn't read this book. I know Clubhousers had a lot of warning that we are going to be reading this book, and they've been reading the book all month. But for those of you who are on my business page or on my YouTube channel, I know this is new for you. Don't worry. we will fix that for next month. But anyway, I am so glad to be streaming again to more people and getting out to my Facebook page and my YouTube channel. Now, if you want to hear ahead of time what books we're going to be reading and learn when I've launched new programs and products and when I have new videos out, go ahead and like my Facebook page. If you're on my business page, go ahead and give it a big like. And if you're watching from my YouTube channel, remember to subscribe. It really helps my videos get out to a broader audience. And I really appreciate when you do like and subscribe. Okay. So moving on, life editors, let's talk a little bit about why we're doing a book club again. And I did a book club with life editors, I don't even know, maybe like 6 or 7 years ago. And it was somewhat popular. It was okay, but that kind of fizzled out. And then I moved the book club into my Life Editor Clubhouse Facebook group. And we just did the book club in there. And it was okay. But now we're opening it up again to everyone. So everyone is going to be able to participate in the book club, whether you're a member of my membership site or not. This is so exciting for me because as a former book editor, I was a book editor for 10 years before I became a life coach. I love reading, but I don't read a lot of the same books that like my friends read. So let me give you a little breakdown on the types of books that I love the most. And I'd be really interested to hear what categories you like. Okay, so I would say about 80% of my reading is what I put under the umbrella self-development books. And that's any kind of book that helps you better yourself. Obviously, that's why it's called self-development, developing yourself. So that could be productivity books or self-help books or self-care books or even business books and becoming a better entrepreneur. Whatever, self-development books take up about 80% of what I read. And I read anywhere between, depends on the week, 1 to 3 books a week. So some weeks it's a little bit more, some weeks it's not, but like, I'd say the average is about 1 to 3 books per week is what I read. Okay, so 80% is self-development. 10% I would say are novels. And when I look at other like booktubers on YouTube or wherever, like 100% of what they read are novels. And when I talk to other people, I'm like, oh, what are your favorite books? They always say novels. And I'm like, I just don't read a lot of novels. I guess it's because I don't know. I guess I just don't get into the storytelling aspect of it. I want to know like what's in it for me. And other than entertainment or like daydreaming or enjoying a story, there's not a lot in it for me in a novel. So I don't read a ton of novels. There are some novels I like, and I am open to reading more novels. But yeah, that when I need a book, I almost always go for self-development. So what makes up the final 10%? Well, that would be memoirs. I don't read a ton of novels, but I do appreciate a good memoir because I feel like when someone is sharing their own life story, I can pull things out of it, like to-dos, as it were. I can pull lessons learned and things that I can try in my own life out of a memoir. So I love Year of Yes, which we're going to talk about in a minute. And I also love like Eat, Pray, Love. Everyone has read that book. That's a great memoir too, because there's definitely things I can pull out of there for use in my own life. All right, now I want to hear from you. What categories of books do you read? And if you can put like percentages on it, I would love to hear. So for me, it's like 80% self-development, 10% novels, and 10% memoirs. So leave a comment and let me know what types of books do you like? Which books do you kind of gravitate towards? Which books do you read over and over and over again? And this is very important if we're going to keep this book club up. And I would love to keep this book club going. But I definitely need to hear like, well, what do you read and what's interesting to you? All right. So why did we read Year of Yes? And again, if you are not in the clubhouse, you're like, wait, I didn't read it. It's okay. I've left the link in the description so you can get your copy of Year of Yes. But in the clubhouse, we read Year of Yes this month. So why did we read this one? It's pretty different from some of the other books that I've recommended. And the reason I chose this book is because it is a self-help book disguised as a memoir. Yes, and lots of memoirs are like this. There are actually actionable things that you can do in your own life as you can pull them out of Shonda Rhimes' life too. So I really like that. It wasn't just like, let me tell you all about my life and just like one long story about their life and whatever. There's actual things that you can apply to your life. You can also do a Year of Yes or a month of yes or a week of yes challenge yourself. And I like that. I liked that, like, it wasn't just like read the book and then forget about it. It's like you could do something after you read this book. And the second reason why we chose Year of Yes, you guys who have American Netflix, you know what I'm talking about. Bridgerton is coming back. Oh my gosh. So Shonda Rhimes, for those of you who don't know, is a TV writer and producer, and her company is called Shondaland. And one of her most popular TV shows is called Bridgerton, and it's on Netflix right now. And season 2 is coming back this Friday. I'm so pumped about this, so excited. And so I thought, like, we got to read Year of Yes during the month where Bridgerton comes back because it's a Shonda Rhimes show. So let's read Shonda Rhimes' novel or memoir. So I'm so excited about that. Leave a comment below and let me know. Are you a Bridgerton fan? Yes. Are you excited for Friday? Are you a Shonda Rhimes fan? And which of her other shows have you watched? And have you read Year of Yes? So who do we have? Joelle says, hello, I've never been in a book club. What I read, it really depends on the mood I'm in at the time, like self-development books, novels, and poetry. Yes, lovely. Yeah, I have been in many virtual book clubs. I've also run my own virtual book clubs too. The in-person book clubs, I've been in 2 of them in my life, and both of them fizzled out pretty fast. The first one I was in was a group of child-free women. So anyway, in the there's a website called meetup.com where you can find groups for whatever your interests are. You can find meetups for certain dog lovers or movie lovers, or if you're a vegan or whatever. And on meetup.com many years ago, I found a group for child-free women, and I am child-free, proudly child-free. And so I wanted to hang around other child-free women and couples. And we had a book club. It wasn't specifically child-free books. I do need to make the clarification that child-free is not the same as childless. So if you're if you're on Meetup.com, like, oh, I want to find a child-free group, make sure you're searching child-free, not childless. So child-free groups are women who have actively chosen not to have children, and that's a big part of their lives. They chose not to have children. Whereas a childless group is more of like a support group for people who do want children, but they're not able to have children, or they're having infertility issues and they're sad about it. So, so make sure you know the difference, because you would definitely insult the other group if you show up to one of them. So anyway, I was in a child-free group and we had a book club. I don't know, maybe it lasted like 5 months. I think 5 months was like about as long as it lasted. And a different person chose a book every month. And then we met up at like a wine bar or a coffee shop or someone's house or whatever. And we talked about the book. And like a big thing was like the books were all over the place. Like once it was a business group, and then it was a novel the next month. There was just no like consistency to what we were reading. And like so many people didn't read the book. Leave a comment and let me know. Like, when you're in a book club, do you read the book? Like, that's the whole point of it, is to read the book and discuss it. And I've been in several book clubs where people just didn't read the books. Or I've hosted book clubs and I'm like, hey, tell me your questions. And people are like, oh, I didn't read the book. Like, that's the whole point, is being in the book club and reading the book. In my Life Editor Academy Mastermind group, we have a book club and a movie club. So we read a book every month and we watch a movie every month. And more people definitely watch the movie every month than read the book every month. So yeah, I would love to hear, what are your experiences with book clubs? Is there anything that I can do or anything I can provide to make this a better virtual book club for us all? And I definitely want to hear what specific books you would like us to be reading. Okay, so that's why we chose Year of Yes. It's a self-help book disguised as a memoir, and because Bridgerton is coming back in a few days. Now, I first read this book when it came out in 2015, and I had never watched any of Shonda Rhimes' shows. They just like didn't appeal to me, which is a little weird because like her biggest show, Grey's Anatomy, is like a show following doctors in a hospital. But for me, my favorite doctor show was ER. And like, I think I'm a little like older than some of the people who watch Grey's Anatomy, because holy moly, back in the day, back in the 90s, I was a huge ER fan. Like, I'm still a big ER fan. But I could never get into Grey's Anatomy, even though it's like the exact same premise. I just couldn't get into it. So leave a comment and let me know, what are your favorite medical shows? And when like Grey's Anatomy came out, I was like, I've already done this already. I've already watched ER. Why am I going to watch another one? But and then the other ones like Scandal or How to Get Away with Murder or Private Practice, just not my thing that I watch on TV. But give me a period piece with lots of romance and sex. Like, I'll watch that. That's why I'm a huge Bridgerton fan. So leave a comment. Let me know. Have you watched any of Shonda Rhimes' shows before you read Year of Yes? Okay. So what is Year of Yes? Well, it's a memoir. And the Year of Yes started when Shonda's sister, over Thanksgiving, as they're chopping vegetables in the kitchen, told her, you never say yes to anything. You never say yes to anything. And that really like became a personal challenge to Shonda to take it upon herself to start saying yes more. So what do you mean, like, not saying yes to things? Like, she didn't say yes to being interviewed. She didn't say yes to go to certain parties. She didn't say yes to even be there for her kids and go to the things that were important to her kids. She didn't say yes to like being brave in the world and doing some of the things that were exciting to her, but just didn't do it. So she said that like her excuse was that she's an introvert and likes to stay at home in her pajamas and watch TV and just write and not have to like be out in the world, even though she's a television writer. And like a big part of that is marketing yourself and going to those fancy parties and smoozing with the beautiful people and really promoting yourself and having a publicist and all of that stuff. That's part of being a TV writer. So it was so interesting to me to like read about how she's such an introvert and doesn't really fall into the same trappings of maybe some other people in Hollywood. Leave a comment and let me know, are you an introvert or an extrovert? And for either one, have you felt like it's gotten in the way of you following your dreams? So for me, you guys know this, I'm an extrovert, like a big surprise there. And the difference between introvert and extrovert is an introvert, they fill their cup and they get energy from being alone or being by themselves. So they fill their cup by staying at home and being on the couch or being just with themselves or watching TV or whatever. They fill themselves up and they replenish their energy when they're just with themselves. That's an introvert. Introvert. Extrovert is the opposite. They get energy by being around people. So for me, when I'm feeling down or depleted, I know I need to be around people because people fill me up. People give me energy. After I'm at a party or an event or a conference or something, I feel like, oh, I'm whole again. I feel amazing. Whereas other people who are introverts might go to a party or a conference and at the end of it, they feel depleted. So that's a good way to tell. Like if you imagine this, like you've been at a party for 3 hours and there's 50 people there. At the end of the party, if you feel lit up and full of life and totally replenished, you're an extrovert. If you feel depleted and you need a lot of time by yourself, you're an introvert. So that's a really good way to figure out if you're introvert or extrovert. So I thought it was interesting that someone whose job is to be out there and be seen is an introvert. So that was like really preventing her from living her life and following her dreams. So when Shonda's sister, Dolores, said, "You never say yes to anything," Shonda took it as a personal challenge to say yes to anything that scares her, but she ultimately knows that it's good for her, and to do that for an entire year. So she wasn't just saying yes to everything, like bad things, like yes to drugs or whatever. She was saying yes to things that scared her, but she ultimately knew they were good for her, like being on Jimmy Kimmel Live or going to different awards presentations or doing a commencement speech, all of those things that like definitely boosted her career and put her out there in a big way, but she was still scared to do it. So I want you to think, is there anything in your life that you know it would ultimately be good for you, but you're scared to do it? So what is that thing in your life that ultimately would be good for you, but you're scared to do it? Maybe that's starting to date again after a long break or something. Or maybe that's getting really serious about your money and sticking to a budget. Or maybe that's starting a business. Think about that. Is there anything that you know would be good for you, but you're scared to do it? I've got one. From my clients who are coaches, this is probably no surprise to you that I work with a lot of women who have businesses. It's just kind of what people are gravitated towards me. I would say like sometimes it's been 50-50, like 50% of my clients are entrepreneurs, 50% are not. But at this moment, I would say about 75% of my clients have businesses and 25% don't. And of those 75% of my clients who have businesses, a lot of them are coaches because if that makes sense, other coaches want to work with other coaches. We see the value in coaching. But one thing that many of my coaching clients who are coaches fail to do, even though they know it would be good for them, is to be on video. So whether that's this right now, doing live streams or doing YouTube videos or doing videos on TikTok or Instagram or wherever, they don't want to be on video because a lot of them are introverted or they're scared about starting their businesses or they think they're going to be laughed at or people won't understand what they're doing. But if you are a life coach, it is imperative that you are on video because literally you are the product. So like if you were an artist and you were selling like paintings, yes, go ahead and take pictures of the paintings. That's what people want to see. But if you're a coach, whether it's a life coach, a nutrition coach, or money coach, or whatever kind of coach you are, you have to be on video because people are paying for you. You are the product. And as soon as my coaching clients who are coaches get on video and start doing that regularly, bam, I see their sales and income go up dramatically because people can finally see what their personalities are like. Like you're finally showing them what the product is that you're trying to sell. It's one thing just to write a blog post saying, I'm a great coach and I can help you do this and that. But it's totally different being on video where people can see like, oh, I really connect with her. We'd be a good team together. So that's one thing that I see my clients not do when they know it would be ultimately good for them. So that is something that I encourage my clients to say yes to. So let me know, what is your thing that you need to say yes to? All right. So I can see your comments here. And for those of you who haven't read the book, you're just hearing about it, don't worry about it. I left the link to the book in the description. Go ahead and read the book and then come back to this replay, either on Facebook or on YouTube, and let me know what you thought. Let me know what were your favorite parts of the book. And for those of you who have read the book, I would love to point out a few places in the book that I really resonated with me. And these are the self-development tips that I'm telling you that are in the book, like where I said this is actually a self-help book disguised as a memoir. So let's see what some of those self-help things are. So on page 99, let me pull it up. Okay, page 99, she's talking about how we don't always know what's going on in the background of people's lives. So she says, powerful, famous women don't say out loud that they have help at home, that they have nannies, housekeepers, chefs, assistants, stylists, whatever it is they have to keep their world spinning. They don't say out loud that they have these people at home doing these jobs because they are ashamed. Oh my goodness, what a truth bomb. Let me know if you've ever felt that way, where you can't admit that you have help for something. So if you're a mom, do you like not want your friends to know that you have a nanny, or not want them to know that you have a chef, or not want them to know that your mom comes over and babysits for free for you, or something like that? I think a lot of women have a lot of shame about accepting help and saying like, this is how I am. This is how my life is. I didn't like fall out of the sky perfect in every way. I actually have to have support in my life to do what it is that I'm doing. Do any of you have an example of that? Like, you can leave a comment below and let me know, do you have an example of like, oh, I didn't want anyone to know that whatever, I won the lottery and that's why I paid off my mortgage, or that I have a nanny, or that XYZ. Yeah, I think that, I don't know, a lot of people have like privileges that help them do what it is that they're doing. And from the outside, we don't see those privileges. We don't see those other avenues of support. And we think like, oh my gosh, like, why am I not like that? I remember, okay, I can give an example from my life. I bought my first house at 25 years old. And people are like, wow, must be nice. Like, why haven't I bought a house at 25? Like that could like stir up a lot of guilt in people. But there's a really clear explanation as why I was able to buy a house at 25 years old. Because my parents, who were horrific in so many different ways, which I will not get into in this call, but I grew up wealthy, and they paid for my entire college education. I had 0 student loans. Everything was paid for me. So when I graduated college, I had 0 student loans, 0 debt. So I immediately got my first job, and my first job out of college, like using my degree. And all of the money that I earned in my work, in my job, I got to keep. I didn't have to pay student loans. So by 25, I had enough money saved for a down payment for a house. And that's how I was able to do it. So people think like, oh my gosh, I'm failing because I didn't buy a house at 25, but I was able to buy a house at 25 because I had no student loans. I know people who had student loans were still paying off their student loans 15 years after they graduated. Like, can you imagine how that could stunt your financial growth if you still had to pay student loans? And I know many people who struggled because of like poor money management habits from not even them, but even from their parents or grandparents passed down to them. So yeah, that people are like, oh, I'm failing because I'm not doing XYZ. Well, usually the people who are doing well have help in some way. So that was one of the ways that I had help in my financial life. So I was able to do a lot of things sooner and faster and with less struggle because I grew up wealthy. So I would love all of the powerful women out there to be able to admit, where do you have support? Where are you getting help in the background that people don't know? But like, let's be honest about that. Like she said in the book, like how she was trying for years and years to get her hair to look like Whitney Houston's hair. until she was finally told that Whitney Houston's hair was a wig. Like she was getting help in that way. Everyone else was struggling. Everyone else was feeling like they didn't live up to some kind of expectation. But even the person who had that thing didn't even have that themselves. So I would love to hear if you have any instances in your life where you felt like you were failing, but then realized, oh, that person has a shit ton of help, and that's why they are able to do that. All right, another thing I wanted to talk about was first only different. So this is on page 138. So I am what I have come to call FOD, first only different. We are a very select club, but there are more of us out there than you think. We know each other on sight. We have all that same weary look in our eyes, the one that wishes people would stop thinking it be remarkable that we can be great at what we do while Black, while Asian, while a woman, while Latino, while gay, while a paraplegic, while deaf. But when you are first only different, you are saddled with that extra burden of responsibility, whether you want it or not. Yeah. Have any of you ever experienced a first only different, an FOD part of your life where you were the first person of whatever, your race or your gender or whatever to do something, and everyone was like, oh my gosh, you're the first person to do that? And it was like, yeah, I have to work so much harder to get what everyone else is just gifted. So Shonda talks about being like the first Black woman to win different TV writing awards, to have her to be like a producer, to do all these other things. And that was like a huge responsibility. And she says in one of her shows that that she and her characters felt like they had to be twice as good to get half as much. Yeah. So I would love to hear if any of you have a first only different situation in your life and how that affected you. And did you feel like you had to try so much harder than everyone else who was just given those benefits? So even if you're watching the replay, go ahead and leave a comment and let me know. I would say in my life, my first only different experience was probably in high school. I was the first LGBT person to come out in my high school of 3,000 kids. So for those of you who don't know, I think it's pretty well known now, I'm bisexual. And when I came out in the middle of high school, I was the only out kid in my high school. And that was like a lot of pressure to be the only out kid, and to live my truth and talk about that and call out different instances of anti-LGBTness in my school. So it was interesting. It was really interesting, kind of like representing. But I would say I was first only different, but only for a short amount of time, because after I came out in high school, other LGBT people came out in my high school. And I was like, you were there all along. I was struggling without you, but you were there all along. So I was very grateful for them to come out. But it was like, there was a few months there I was the only one. And I was like, what the hell? But I did notice that the value of being a first only different person is that when you blaze the trail, other people are able to follow. And yeah, it's a lot of pressure being a first only different person. But I don't know. I guess like, I don't know. It was different for me being bisexual in high school. Like I went to prom with a girl junior year, and I went to prom with a guy senior year, and then I dated men and women in college. Like when I got into college, there were a lot more gay kids there, so it wasn't as big of a deal. But in high school, being the only out person in my 3,000 people in my high school, that was tough. So yeah, I do understand the first only different sentiment, that when you are blazing a trail for something, it can be really hard. You feel like you have to like be better than everyone else just to get like the same respect that the other people get. So that was an interesting part. Let me know if that part of the book resonated with you. All right. Let's go to page 141. I know this is a controversial part of the book, because people don't like to talk about weight. Or if they talk about weight, there's this whole push that like, you're fine, be as fat as you want. Like the whole body positivity thing that's gotten corrupted and whatnot, that you can be 1,000,000 pounds and everything's fine. I grew up with very obese parents. Like if you've ever seen the show My 600-Pound Life on TLC, which is like a train wreck in itself, that's what my parents and my older brother looked like. They were 400, 500, almost 600 pounds. So they were very, very unhealthy. They couldn't walk. It was just, yeah, growing up with like morbidly obese people was like a whole other challenge in my life. But I can definitely see how that, like, the health at every size is not great, because if you say that you could be healthy at every single size, then you have to admit that somebody who's 700 pounds is healthy, or someone who's anorexic who's 80 pounds is healthy, and that's absolutely not true. And I can definitely say that my parents growing up, morbidly obese, were not healthy. They had all sorts of problems. They had to get knee replacements. They were on tons and tons of medications. It was a mess. So when Shonda talks about wanting to lose weight, I'm like, yay, be healthy. And she talks about in here, like, yeah, go ahead and be whatever weight you want. If you want to be curvy, if you want to have like whatever weight you want, go ahead and do that for you. But she was not healthy. She was hurting all the time. She was out of breath. She couldn't keep up with her kids. And like, that's the reality of morbid obesity. So I love this quote on page 141 where she said, losing yourself does not happen all at once. Losing yourself happens 1 pound at a time. And I think it's very true for anyone who's ever struggled with your weight. It's not going to the gym one night and that turns into 2 nights and that turns into 3 nights. Or it's going over your calories for one day or eating too much on the weekend, and it just compounds over and over and over time. I mean, that's true with like any kind of change that you want to make, or any kind of like negative thing. Like if you are dealing with alcohol issues, it's, oh, just one drink here isn't going to matter. And then it becomes like another drink, or I'll just have 1 glass of wine at night, and then it becomes 2 glasses of wine, then it becomes a whole bottle of wine, like it on and on and on. And that's what she talked about, gaining weight just happened one thing at a time. So you kind of had to change it one step at a time too, one yes at a time, rather than saying no to her body. So she was saying no to her body in ways of like not exercising and not eating well, and just kind of like abusing her body. So I loved it that she turned around that no to a yes. If you say yes to your body, you're going to eat healthy foods, you're going to exercise, you're going to take care of yourself for you because you love your body. You're saying yes to your body. So I would love to hear if any of you have examples of losing yourself and it not happening all at once. How did it gradually happen over time? So is that getting into debt? You lost yourself $1 at a time. Or gaining weight, you lost yourself 1 no at a time, 1 bad choice at a time. Or getting into a bad relationship, or whatever, like failing in some way. How did you get there? By a series of no's, and were you able to find a series of yeses to come back to yourself? Would love to hear your thoughts about that. So remember, leave a comment either on Facebook or YouTube, even if you're watching the replay later. So yeah, losing yourself doesn't happen all at once. I thought that was a really profound thing to say. And I'm so happy that she talked about losing weight for health, because holy moly, there's a whole big pushback about losing weight for health. But as someone who grew up with 3 morbidly obese family members living in my house, I can tell you they were not healthy, and it affected everything else in their lives. And they were very, very, very sick people the last time I saw them. So like, living as one of those 600-pound life people is not good for you. It's really, really damaging. All right. Got a little bit more time. I wanted to talk about the first big no that's on page 216. So she's in a meeting for Grey's Anatomy, and they want to hire this one actress. They don't name the actress. And she's not having it. She does not want to write for this actress. So her first big no was saying no to hiring such and such actress for her show. She stood in her power and said, this is my show and I'm not working with that actress. No, 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 no. So I love that. Like, in addition to saying yes to yourself and yes to your career and yes to your goals, sometimes that includes saying no. So where was the time that you had to say a big no in order to stand in your power, to have confidence in yourself, to say like, my goals are important, so I'm saying no to whatever that nasty thing is. You can also call this having boundaries in your life too. So for me, I said no to working all the time. And that is still hard sometimes. But I said no to doing calls at night. I only have two days at sometimes of the year. I have 3 days a week where I take client calls. I don't take calls on the weekends. Um, I say no to people who try to like penny pinch me or poke down my prices. I'm like, no, I'm standing in my power. This is important to me. So tell me, when do you say no in order to say yes to yourself? Joelle says, losing myself was weight and financial issues. Yeah, I think that's almost all of us, right? Just bought the ebook yesterday and I'm only starting chapter 1. Her writing has drawn me in the first few pages. Yeah, that's what really got to me. Like when this book came out in 2015, everyone was saying how great it was. I'm like, but I don't watch her shows. I don't know anything about Shonda Rhimes. I don't watch Grey's Anatomy. Why am I going to read her memoir? But everyone said it's a great book. It's a great book. So I read it without having to know like anything about her. And she's a TV writer for a reason. She has a great writing style. So for any of you who are on the fence about getting Year of Yes, like from the first page, you're going to be hooked on her writing. She calls herself a liar, that she lies for a living. And that's true because she's a TV writer. She has to make up stories all the time. And I love that. And I also love how kind of like raw she is, where sometimes a few times in the book, she'll share something embarrassing or gross about her stuff. And then she'll say in the next sentence, hey, I know you're judging me. Don't you dare judge me in my own book. And I'm like, oh, yeah. So it's funny. It's funny. I really love her writing. And now I've learned to start appreciating her shows too, because I do like her writing. So thank you so much for sharing, Joelle. Anyone else? Did you lose yourself? Finances, weight, relationships, drugs and alcohol, poor business ventures? Tell me, like, how did you lose yourself one no at a time or one step at a time? All right. The last thing I want to talk about, and I would love to hear if I mean, it's a 300-page book, so I know I'm missing stuff. So if there's any part of the book you're like, Sage, why didn't you talk about blank? Let me know, because I would love to hear what parts resonated with you. All right. Page 284, where she talks about that she broke up with her boyfriend because she doesn't ever want to get married. And she just danced around and felt so good and so light after she realized that feeling inside of her. And she made that decision conscious and said it out loud that she does not want to get married. That is like a really profound thing, because like as women, we're conditioned like, oh, you should want to get married and have a white picket fence and then all of those things and have children and whatever. And she's a mom. She's adopted, I think, at least 1 or 2 of her kids. I think her first kid wasn't adopted, but anyway, she's got 3 kids, and she's not married, and she doesn't want to be married. I think that's really relatable. Like if you value your life, if you like how you live your life, if you want to be able to make decisions for yourself, you want to make decisions for your children, for yourself without having anyone else in there, or if you just don't feel like you're missing anything. I mean, you could still have romantic relationships, but not get married. And I think that's interesting that she's open to that too, but doesn't want to get married. I would love to know if there's any kind of choice you made in your life that kind of pushed back against the status quo, but you stood in your power and said like, no, this is what's right for me. I'm not doing blank just because you tell me to. So for me, I chose not to have children. And there was just a deep understanding of that ever since I was very, very young. I knew with all of my heart in middle school and high school, there was no way I was having children. It was just not a part of me. And that has been like one of my core beliefs my entire life, that I am not meant to be a mother, and I have no desire to be a mother. And that really made a lot of people mad in my life. It made a lot of people feel like I was attacking their choices because of the choice that I made for me. Or I'm a vegan too. And people are like, that's offensive to me, because what are you saying about my choices? But my choices are my choices. You go do what you want to do. You go live your life. But me choosing not to have children was just like one of the most biggest profound things that I said, this is right for me in my life. And I would love to hear, like, is there something you have always known in your gut? And when you finally said it out loud, even if other people didn't understand it, how did that make you feel? Did you feel like you were finally saying yes to your life? Whatever that might be. And maybe that is having kids. For those of you who watch Bridgerton, which is coming back on Friday, one of the characters in season 1, Daphne, talks about how she always knew her whole life she wanted a great big family. She wanted to be a mother. She wanted to have lots and lots of kids, which causes the conflict with her suitor, her future husband, who cannot have kids. I won't spoil it for you. Go watch Bridgerton. But she has that very profound, deep knowing within her that she is meant to have children. And I had the exact same thing for me, but for not having children. I had this deep understanding inside me that I was not supposed to be a mother. And yeah, when you stand in your power and make a choice for yourself, not everyone is going to understand it, but you got to say yes to you and yes to how you want to live your life. So those were 5 or 6 places in the book that really stood out to me. And I'm able to pull and extrapolate things that I can do for my life in this book. And I think that's what makes any memoir a great memoir, is if there's something that you can apply to your own life based on the advice that they're sharing from their life. All right, now I want to hear from you. If you've read Year of Yes, or if you're going to read it now, leave a comment and let me know what part stood out to you. Were you able to apply any of her teachings to your life? And I want to hear, what books do you want to read for our book club next? So just as a reminder, if you missed the top half of this call, I'm opening up the book club that was originally just in the clubhouse. I'm opening up to everyone. So now whether you follow me on my Facebook business page or you follow me on YouTube, we'll all be able to read the same books together. So I do want to know what books you want to read, what categories and topics are important to you. And I will absolutely let you know ahead of time what books we're reading. I know this caught some people off guard because we just opened it up. But make sure you are liking my Facebook page and you are subscribed on YouTube so you don't miss any of the announcements. Okay, now I've got homework for you. Of course, I've got homework for you. I would love you to design your own either Year of Yes, or Month of Yes, or Week of Yes, or if you're brand new to saying yes to your life, Day of Yes. So create your parameters just like she did. So Shonda Rhimes said she was going to say yes to anything that scared her, but she ultimately knew it was good for her. So don't just say yes to anything. I don't want you getting arrested, but say yes to things that are scary, but ultimately good for you. And then I would love to hear how it goes. So tag me on Facebook or comment under any of my YouTube videos, or you can send me an email, sage@sagegrayson.com. I would love to hear, how do you do your week of yes, or your month of yes, or your year of yes, and what types of things do you say yes to, and if they improved your life. I'm hoping that saying yes will improve your life. It certainly has for me. So I would love to hear your results. All right. And after you do that, definitely come back and share with us. Let me know what books you want to read in our book club. And let's see. I don't see any other comments coming in right now, but I do see all of the comments as they come in. So even if you're replying on the replay days or weeks later, go ahead and leave a comment. Let me know what you thought of Year of Yes and any ideas and thoughts you have for our upcoming book club. All right, life editors, that's all I got for you today. Thank you so much for joining me for this live stream. I hope to see you at many, many more live streams going forward. All right, have a great rest of your week, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye.